challenging. So I need all pencils down now. Okay? Notebooks closed for the moment. I'm not going to close them, set pencils down. Okay, so how many of you have gone skiing? Just show of hands. Don't talk, just show of hands.
Yes.
Skiing. Okay, remember, I was very specific. I said do not talk. Okay, so skiing. I've never been skiing, but I was at the dentist recently, and you know how like they just have like those little magazines that you can read that I would not normally ever read. All the peoples were taken. So I was looking at this one. It was about skiing, and it was all about it was making me think of, and I like thought about this yesterday because Russia just got banned from the Winter Olympics. Anyway, so
No.
and so basically the ski magazine kind of like caught my eye because I've never been skiing. I think it's kind of interesting. And so I was thinking to myself, okay, what is this going to be about? So I kind of flipped through it, oriented myself with the text, right, kind of like how good readers do. And it was all about the different techniques for different terrains. And to me, I'm just like, well, there's not really that many terrains. It's just like snow or not snow, right? But it's actually a lot different than that. And so there was this really scary example. And it kind of freaks me out because I don't know about you guys, but I'm a little bit claustrophobic. And basically, there's this thing called tree wells. You know what I'm talking about? Raise your hand. Okay, no one? Okay, so this is great new information. Apparently, like in the West, so like if you're like skiing more like on the western part of the United States, over in like the Rockies, there are like these spots that powdery snow gets really deep, and powdery snow we know like doesn't stick, and so you can just like fall right through it. So basically, what happens if you get over there and you're skiing, you tip and you like fall face first into it, and so you're upside down, but like stuck in snow. And so that like really freaked me out. And so basically your head is buried down in there. And so the thing that this article kind of was talking about was how expert skiers have to know how to read trees. They have to know how to read the snow and the terrain so that doesn't happen to them because it's happened before. And so they're not kind of like, so they have to navigate these like complicated areas. And so that made me think about like us and our writing and how a lot of us are spending time talking about kind of like these main parts, the parts that like jump out at us, but we're spending less time talking about like complicated parts of the text. And so I want you to really quick, I want you to turn and talk to your partner. What is an activity that you have that maybe has like complicated parts to it? Just kind of like skiing, you can think about sports, activities, band, anything. I want you to talk. So, okay, where you have to, like the more advanced you get, right, the more complicated it gets. Talk to your partner, go.
Snowboarding. Miss Decker. Snowboarding. Miss Decker. Miss Decker. Snowboarding. I love it.
Okay, what's that? 3, 2, and 1. Okay, I heard a lot of people talking about sports and like the things that your coaches teach you become increasingly more difficult. I heard some people talking about I heard Lily talking about her horses and how like it becomes more complicated in competition. And do you do bear racing? No, but like I know that would become more complicated, right? That the older you get, the more advanced that you are, it becomes harder. Right? And so like, and that's kind of like teaching. Like it is like this subject matter is not as tough as like AP English. So that the higher level that you teach, the harder it is. And so, right? And the example that they give in the book is about instruments and how like the better you get, the more complex that the notes are, and the quicker you have to go. And when you get with a full orchestra, you have to be thinking about how they sound versus like how you sound, and are you quiet while others are loud. And so that's just basically all those things relate to reading, right? Because that's what good readers do. When they look at, as our texts get more complex, or we have higher text complexity, as we get older, right, you have to be thinking about all these things and how they interact. Okay, so today the thing that I want to teach you relates right to our ICANN statement, is that skilled readers, or skilled writers, when they're writing about reading, don't just have one way to travel through a text. They don't just follow the character, kind of like how we talked yesterday. They don't think, okay, I'm going to make a character map and I'm going to talk about that. And, right? That's not good enough anymore. So they look at they write in ways to help tackle the challenges that the text poses. And so that's going to be kind of what we center around today. So, instead of just like reading the text, you're going to ask yourself those questions, and a lot of you are doing that. But one of the questions I want you to ask yourself is, what are the challenges one encounters when reading a story? Okay, and then they set out to write in a way that helps them solve that, right? Helps them come to a conclusion, and maybe that they don't have the exact answer, but it's a way to it's a way to like wrestle those hard parts. Okay, and that doesn't mean like, oh, looking at your colored pencils and saying, I'm going to do this today, or you have to really think and be intentional. Okay, so let's think about Stolen Party. Right, we've been in Stolen Party a lot, and that's going to be our anchor text, so we don't have to read new ones every day. Right, and about the relationships and the themes and the lessons. Right, we've done that. And then I like to think about something that's particularly complicated. Okay, and so when you have an idea, I want you really quick. So think about what's complicated in the Stolen Party. Everyone, be in your brain. Okay, turn and tell your partner what is a complicated part of that story. Go.
She made it. What's hard for her? What's too hard?
Yeah, and then you have something like this.
Okay, voices off in 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so the part that I kind of heard you guys talking about how she was feeling used, and so we're kind of getting big ideas. I was wanting us to think about like a really particular spot. So the one that I focused in on was when she's serving those hot dogs, right? And like it's just kind of like she just gets done. So I'm gonna reread this section, and I want you to be thinking, okay? Because sometimes as readers, we end up knowing more than the actual narrator, not the narrator, but than the main character does, right? So we start to get these uneasy feelings. So I want to reread this section here, and I want you to be thinking, okay? All right, so it's kind of right here with the girl with the bow, and she says, so where do you know her from, right? She's asking, she said, well, said the girl, getting impatient. Rosaura remembered her mother's words perfectly. She took a deep breath. And she said, I'm the daughter of the employee. She said her mother had said very clearly, if someone asks you, say you're the daughter of the employee, that's all. She also told her to add, and proud of it. But Rosaura thought that never in her life would she dare say something of the sort. What employee, said the girl with the bow. Employee in a shop? No, said Rosaura angrily. My mother doesn't sell anything in a shop. So how come she's an employee, said the girl with the bow. Just then, Senora Inez arrived, saying shh, shh, and asked Rosaura if she wouldn't mind helping serve out the hot dogs, as she knew the house was so much better than the others. See, said Rosaura to the girl with the bow, and when no one was looking, she kicked her in the shin. Okay, so now that we've read this before, turn and tell your partner, what kind of feelings do we get? Why is that a complicated scene right there when Senora Inez comes in? Why is that kind of a weird moment for her to come in? Turn and talk to your partner, go.
Because it was kind of the odd time and they were arguing. And the one girl got
I feel like
Okay, so really quick. So one of the things that I was hearing from some of you was that you were saying that like now that you've read the story, you understand like this was not her asking to be like for her like being special to help, right? So Rosaura's really excited to help, and now we know that it's not really a special thing. And so that's kind of important. So this means that as writers about reading, we'd be wise to figure out a plan for how writing can help us think about these kinds of moments. Okay? And so like for me, I crafted a timeline. And so this is just kind of the start of what I'm thinking. And so I just said, okay, so this is like when her mom and her are fighting, she's like low. So each like point goes up and down based on how she feels. So I need all eyes on the board right now. Okay, we're in mini lesson right now. You've got to be focused. Hyper focused. Okay, So Mom and Rosaura are fighting. She's excited when she gets ready, right? She argues with the girl with the bow at the party, and that's like when she's kind of feeling down. Then she gets to the games and the cake and the magician. She gets monkey, and then she goes all the way down when she gets picked up. Okay? And so what I want to do really quickly is when we work together, I want you to think, okay, so how do we react? Right? Now that we've read this, so we have to chart, these are like her emotions. Well, how do we feel? Okay? So really quick, I want this side of the group, I want you to work on the first two. So like these groups, I want you to work on the first two, how you are feeling. Center, I want you thinking about the next two. And then this over here, I want you guys thinking, how did you react? Not how did Rosaura react. How did you react to her feeling? Did you have empathy? You get the last two. Okay? Turn to your partner. Go.
Yeah, it starts as
You were 8 what did you have? Our mom is letting her go to that race experience, and then she got ready.
and she like.
But no. How did you react? Not what happened.
I was kind of like, I thought like after she argued with the girl, she was like, I thought it was going to end like right there. But then when she was
Okay, you're predicting. How did you feel? About like happy, sad, mad, confused. Why?
I don't want to, if you usually argue with someone, you usually don't want to be around them.
Okay, alright, voices up in 3, 2, and 1. So I heard lots of like feelings of empathy. Like I heard Karma say something like she was like kind of feeling anxious for our character because it was like this was a really bad thing that happened to her. Right? I heard somebody saying like, you know, like the first time I read it through, like I was excited for her when she was getting to like be the special helper and getting to like hold the monkey, right? Because like I was excited for her. I didn't see the end coming. And then some of us were talking about like when she was arguing with the girl with the bow, like Stephen was kind of confused. Like I was confused because like when I go argue with someone, I want to leave, but Rosaura ended up staying, and so he was kind of confused as to that. And so right before we go off to our seats and practice this on our own, today I want you to imagine, we're going to kind of like think about some different things. So House of the Scorpion, you guys are going to have a leg up on this because this happened to you, about what you would do in these confusing times, right? Or these confusing examples if this happened in your book. Okay, so the first one that I want you to talk to your partner about is what if your character has, or what if your story has a ton of characters? How do you keep track of them? How do you respond to them? Okay? It feels almost impossible to keep track. So what would you do, right? How would you write about all of those characters? Okay? Turn and talk to your partner. Go. All right, let's stop in 3, 2, and 1. All right, Isaac, what would you do? Because you had House of the Scorpion. How would you tackle writing about it? Not necessarily just keeping track. How would you write about all those characters? Okay, so just like to kind of keep track, but then how would you respond to like all their different connected relationships?
Well, basically they're all kind of like divided into families.
Okay.
So when like one talked about like it was usually like just a section of characters like in one scene.
Okay.
And then the next scene would be like about a different section of
So
characters. So it was easy.
So you would compare and contrast like the different families. If you could do something like that, or you could talk about how like what if like so and so was a part of this family? How would it change the dynamic? So you could kind of like move the characters around.
In the beginning of the book, it like starts out with like characters that you don't know, but once you get close to the end of the book, they like start to describe like why those characters are important.
Okay.
Because they were talking about the lab that Matt was made in the beginning, and then in the end they were like,
It's okay. Could you go back then after you read the ending? Could you go back and reread the beginning, kind of like we did with Stolen Party, and could you see the different nuances? Like that's kind of like how movies.
yeah.
Once you know an ending, could you go back through and rewatch, and you're like, oh my gosh, I was just reading this. Has anybody seen the kind of like the scary movie Get Out?
Yes.
I was just, this is kind of a side tangent, but I think it's important. I I was just reading this article about it, and he was it was with the creator, and now I can't